we are, another episode of If It Be Your Will podcasts. Season 3,
Woo.
been chugging along. Today, no exception. Now, we were just talking before. I was talking with Annabel. I'll introduce her in a minute, but we are both Montrealers.
Woo.
So this is a huge treat. Both Habs fans.
Oh, great.
So we're going to have a great talk. So I have Annabel Gutherz here, Montreal singer-songwriter, pop, classic rock. I mean, it's very multi-genre. It's hard to pinpoint it, but we'll get into that a little bit. So Annabel, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Chris, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here and to be chatting with you.
Awesome. Well, I like starting these off by kind of origin stories. And the question I love to ask artists when they first come on is, when did it click? When was it like, bam, music is me, or I need this in me, or it's in me and I need to get it out? What are those early recollections that you have of that?
Great question. I mean, I was always sort of encompassed by music growing up. My parents love music, so they introduced my sister and I to some of their favorite artists from a very early age. But I really felt a magnetic draw to the stage. My mom and sister were in a local theater production of Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, and I was just enthralled and felt like this inner knowing that that's something I had to do. I think I was all of 5 years old, and I sort of took part in musical theater from that point forward. And it was just it just really resonated with me on such a deep level, just the form of expression. It spoke to me, it spoke through me. And later on, so I really explored the arts through this sort of medium.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was in high school, I stumbled upon songwriting quite organically. I was actually writing a little diary entry, and I heard the words as melodies. And I was like, what if I put this into a song? So I sort of like look up, okay, song structure, which I was familiar with, but I was like, okay, what are sort of the makings of a song? And lo and behold, after sort of following it through to fruition, I finished with the song. And that experience was like opening a door. Like I had been like a jar, and this light was pouring in this dark room. And then I'd opened it to discover this sort of new passion of mine, I suppose you could say, because I love storytelling and I love music. So it just ended up sort of being at the intersection of my passions, songwriting, and of course I love performing. And so that was sort of a turning point for me when I was like, I think this is going to be with me forever.
Wow,
Or it's
that's
going to be
amazing.
stuck with me anyways. Either
or. Right?
Either or, exactly. Exactly.
And
And I loved it.
I heard that your mom too said, I love this saying, that you were singing before you could talk, or humming before you could talk. I mean, what influence? I know your mom has played a huge influence on your trajectory. Can you talk a little bit about how family is so important to supporting this musical dream that you have?
Oh my gosh. Yes. And you've done your research, Chris. Oh my gosh. My mom is, yes, been so influential. She's so humble. And if I anticipate she'll listen to this. And when she does, I'm sure she will be blushing because she's a little bit more shy in this regard, but she is so uber talented, so multifaceted in her talents. We call her Renaissance woman, but especially in music, she could sort of do it all. Like she'll just sit by a drum kit, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, "Who's what? How did you know how to play that?" Or guitar, piano. And then she has this gorgeous voice, and so yeah, I think she was very influential because I've always long been inspired by her talent and also just who she is. And so that was, I think a crucial sort of part in my identity growing up is that like aspiring to sort of be like her. And then also, I guess it's sort of like what came first, the chicken or the egg, and having some of those genetics in there, those, predispositions to loving music and to being a vessel for the
Right,
music.
right.
And then my family as a whole, I mean, I They're like my favorite people on the planet. We could not be much closer, and the fact that they support me sort of through this um, career and through these endeavors is really something I could never stress how important it is and how much it means to me, because the arts are definitely not the most stable of
Yeah,
careers.
for sure.
And
For sure.
like they just have like this unwavering belief in me that I think just
Mm.
buoys me through it all. Their
Right.
love, their support, and their belief is like the amalgamation for just for buoyancy and for
Mm.
magic. And so I truly could not do this without them. And yeah, they mean the world to me and I love them. And if they're listening, hello, love you
Very
guys.
well said. Very well said. Well, I think that that creates our foundation on which we can build, right? That if your family's got your back no matter what, like the world opens up, right?
Yeah,
It
it
transforms
honestly
our
really,
image of what we think we can do personally to this much broader, like, wait a minute, if they believe in me. Because
yeah.
oftentimes it's the hardest thing is to start believing in oneself and saying, I'm going to go for it. And I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about you had referenced that your writing is very journalistic, that it's a personal thing. You're opening your heart up to the world. And I mean, I was kind of thinking about like if I had, when I was writing journals, would I want, first of all, my family to read it and then the world to read it? How do you how do you get that bravery to pour your heart out into these songs and then the confidence to deliver them to the world? Because to me, I would think that would be quite intimidating. How have you navigated that kind of that opening of the heart to the world?
Well, it's funny because I think I'm a quite verbose person in that I like and I love chatting and I love talking, but I'm not always the most expressive of sort of, what's really weighing on my heart or what's going on in my mind. And so this is, like you said, it's very journalistic, very diaristic in that it's very, very much a portrait of the inner workings of
Mm-hmm.
Annabelle. And it's a very intimidating and sort of scary thing,
Mm-hmm.
which I would say doesn't come naturally to me outside of song. I think my family, they sort of know, they know everything anyways, because we're very, very close. Um, so that part's not necessarily scary. I think it's the part where you open yourself up to a broader audience of people. But I think ultimately what helps me sort of render the courage to do that, song and melody feel like a very safe place. Like it
Mm-hmm.
feels like a very sheltered place. And music is meant to sort of connect people and remind us of our shared human experience
Mm-hmm.
and build community and help people feel seen and understood. And if I can be a vessel for that, if I can be a catalyst for that in other people and help them in their own respective lives and journeys, um, that's a big motivator for me. And I think part of what makes writing music, especially very deeply personal music, and sharing it much easier
Mm-hmm.
because it feels like there's a lot
Interesting.
of purpose in it.
Right, right. Keeping your eye on the prize, kind of
Yeah, like knowing that it could reach people and it could
right,
touch people, move people, heal people, unite people. There's such an
right.
intrinsic power of in music that I just feel very honored and privileged to be a part of.
Well, and I mean, you're studied in this area as well. It's not like you stumbled upon songwriting. Like you've put energy and effort and investment into this craft that you're doing. Could you tell us a little bit? I know you went to Berkeley. You have your BA and a Master's of Songwriting.
Yes.
What are they? What were your greatest lessons that you gained from that Masters of Songwriting? Like, what are some of those like things that you never thought you would have known unless you were a part of that course or a part of that journey?
You come with the great, wonderful questions. I love it.
Mhm.
I There were so many lessons that I learned over the course of those programs. Um, I learned, I think, really how to hone sort of my maybe musical instincts and funnel them into more like structured habits so you really I could like develop and nurture the craft. And
Yeah.
I think what I learned, which is probably most important, is how to make your music most sort of resonant, because there are sort of
Mm,
paradigms that you could follow, some that you could kind of break. And so
mhm,
learning how to really make the craft malleable such that it represents me and my artistry, but also a way that it can reach and connect with people. I think
right.
those probably like the biggest takeaways that I learned. So like different
Mm,
genre paradigms, how to explore different genres and styles, but also find your own sound that's emblematic of who you are.
yeah.
And I would say another lesson that I learned is about sort of duality.
Mm,
And it was more, I guess, like almost psychological in that as humans, we often experience not one emotion at once. So will experience like two, if not more, at the same time. So if you're happy, you might be trepidatious that the happiness is going to come to an end. Or if you're sad, it's often like accompanied by hope. And sort of blending those dualities or those
mm,
emotional dichotomies into your music to make it really a very human and real experience. And so I'd say those were
mm,
probably some of the most um, impactful lessons I learned over the course of Berkeley. But I mean, there are so many from like
sure.
lyrics to melody to theory. The list is honestly endless, and it was an invaluable experience for me.
Mm,
I loved it. I learned so much. I met so many wonderfully talented and creative people that inspire me every day, and that I got to work with. It was just like one of those it's sort of surreal where I'm like, wow,
mm,
like, and I love education. I love learning. And this was like
mhm,
peak. I was like, this is like just too much fun, especially I came from sciences, which were not as, did not come as naturally to me.
mhm,
I
mhm,
was like learning like chemistry and like once I graduated all that, I was like, and pivoted to music, which is quite different. But I was like, oh, this is very fun. And I think I just got so much enjoyment from it, which think helps um I think helps you like absorb more information too when you're
yeah,
like
for sure.
enjoying the process.
Beautifully said. I mean, your lyrics are as elegant as the way you speak.
Oh, you.
I let's drill down a little bit. Like, let's get to brass tacks. Like, how does a song start for you? Like when you're thinking about your education and your craft. I love how you say that, your craft. Um, what do you need in place for it to come out in the way that you want it, where you can see it going on tape or like having legs to it? Like what's your routine of sitting down or standing or running? Like how do you go about with that initial inspiration?
You know what? I think I'm always sort of drawing inspiration from the world around me. I think there's so much
Mm,
inspiration to be drawn. I'm always sort of jotting down notes and maybe lyrics that pop into my head. And so I try every day to sort of sit down and channel that inspiration. And sometimes just sometimes maybe I'm not feeling super inspired by the world, but I'll read a book or I'll watch a
mm,
TV show and I'll feel inspired by that. Or just, my own life. I just try and draw whatever inspiration from everywhere and anywhere. And every day I try and sit down and usually I'll sort of start with a chord progression, something
mhm,
that feels inspired, something that feels there just has to be something to it. So I'll play around on piano or guitar, or lately I've been loving like listening to different samples on like a sample service. Like Splice is
mm,
one that I love to listen to and sort of
mhm,
go through because they have different sounds and textures that feel like they just hold all the little magic and goodies of a
mm,
good melody. And then I'll start to sort of lyrics and melody often come simultaneously for me. And
mm,
then I'll sort of flesh out a song in terms of structure. So verses, I like to be more expository, and then choruses, a bit more specific and to the point and message of the song.
mhm,
And once I have a rough draft, I'll go back and I'll sort of test and say, okay, well, this note works. Maybe I'll try and switch it though to this note. Like I'll play around with the melody and the lyrics and to make sure that I'm putting emphasis on all the right syllables and like really going through it like meticulously more from like a theoretical
Hmm.
standpoint. And then I let it live for a little and see, okay, in like 5 days, is it still going to resonate with me? Is it still the most impactful I think it can be? And of course, the writing process is so iterative, especially like when you start to produce and you add
Right.
instrumentation, you go back and go, oh, maybe I'll switch to, oh, that was a really cool guitar riff. Maybe I'll take out some lyrics and just leave space for it. Um, so it's basically iterative until the very final mix.
Right.
But once
Right.
it sort of passes like, the 5 day mark and I still really like it
Mm.
speaks to me and it feels like something that I want to share, then I go, full steam ahead.
Right. Who are your go-to sounding boards? Like, who would you first bring this to and say, you want to give this a listen and, tell me what you think? And could it use a little this, a little of that? Like, who are
100%.
your main sounding boards you love to go to that give you honest feedback?
Honest feedback, I definitely say from my brilliant collaborators, producers, co-writers, Michael Blue, Brett Epic Mazer, um, such a privilege and an honor to work with them. And
Mm,
if I have an idea, I usually have like a rough sketch and I'll go, what do you guys think of this?
mm,
And just to
mm,
get their take on it, what they feel like is maybe working, maybe what they think could be improved upon. If, you know, what's really nice about our collaboration is we're very generally on the same page, um, which is a gift in and of itself.
mm,
And I learned so much from them in terms of like the production and bringing the song, from conception to completion. So they're definitely people, great sounding boards and such expert and masterful ones at that. I also have to say, my family, I always go to
mhm,
them. Um, because again, my dad is sort of like a music aficionado in that, like,
mm,
he really listens to music, doesn't necessarily play or perform music, but is well, he has a very cultivated music sense. So I love
oh,
his opinion. My mom, again, uber, uber, uber
amazing.
talented, and their opinions are everything to me, as is my sister's. She's sort of like, I feel like the best of both worlds between my mom and my dad. And so the three of them are like their opinions mean everything to me. So once I run it by them, if I get like the seal of approval, I'm like, I could run with this now. And of course, my dog Walter. If he gives me like a knowing look, I'm like, okay,
Little tail
Walter,
wag.
little tail wag. I'm like, okay, we're off to a good start.
Right, right. And what have you found that your most unexpected challenges have been? Because you put, you're heavily invested in your craft, which is absolutely amazing. But I mean, there's an underbelly to all this. What have been your greatest challenges, and how did you overcome these challenges that presented themselves to you?
There have been a number of challenges. I would say at sort of in the inaugural days of my career when I was anticipating releasing my debut album, COVID was
Mhm.
definitely an unexpected challenge. As I'm sure
Mhm.
so many, like being in a performing arts field and not being able to perform and sort of share the songs, I think in sometimes the way that they're meant to be shared, which is in a live setting. That was definitely a challenge. And then also just navigating, how am I going to release these songs? How am I going to make cover art? And what I would say a little bit of a unexpected challenge that sort of married that was like content creation
Mm,
and navigating how to create content and visuals that felt representative of the music.
right,
And it taught me a lot, though, taught me sort of how to be a bit more like self-sufficient in that regard.
right.
And also I had great help again from my family with cover art. Like we got like this little
Mm.
home kit from Amazon and we just took a picture and I enlisted this amazing artist who I now have the greatest fortune of calling my creative director, Jyrka Vince. He's from Finland and he's brilliant, and he would help with sort of cover art. And so learning, like that was definitely a process that I had to learn.
Right.
It was a
Yeah.
learning curve, but one that I think
Yeah.
sort of I've managed to navigate. And well, at least now, hopefully COVID's a bit more behind us. So, like we
Yeah.
can live life and share our songs as artists in a more like tactile way. That was
Hmm.
definitely an unexpected challenge. And then
Yeah.
one that I'm sort of constantly faced with. For years now, I've had vocal nodules. And so I'm always very mindful and cognizant of my vocal health and what I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing to support it, to not, strain my voice and to make sure it's as healthy as can be and that I could perform and express myself in the ways that I'd like to. And so that's something that's sort of like constant.
Right.
That's that's a bit of more of a constant than less necessarily like a challenge that can be overcome. But oh,
Mm.
oh, yeah. I was like, overcome, is that even a word? But that can be
Yep.
that can be like usurped or anything. But you know, it's definitely something that I can manage. And I'm
Right.
very grateful for that.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting you're saying that. I mean, oftentimes I think we don't think of our voice as an instrument, but you've got to take care of it. You got to has maintenance, it has you
You
have to when it's your
also,
instrument that is delivering your message. It definitely has to be. I was talking to a guy, Tyler from the band Good Looks, and he was saying that he had to start going and doing vocal lessons because doing 6 days in a row on stage it's tough. I mean, it's you have to get your vocal cords ready for something like that, and you have to also pace. Like he would say, I only give about 92%, on day one, and then I kind of like will gradually, as the tour comes to an end or whatever, the week comes to an end. So
yeah.
that awareness is, I think you hit on something pretty interesting that I don't think a lot of people think about.
You know what? It's so true, and it's something I hadn't thought about for the longest time.
Hmm.
Until I was sort of diagnosed with the nodules, and I've worked with amazing speech pathologists, and I have an incredible vocal coach, Ivan Rutherford, and
Shout out.
I'm so much shout out Ivan, and I'm so supported. I'm so supported, and so grateful for that. But it definitely is, sort of like a muscle, so you
Yeah,
gotta train it and make sure to not overuse it. And yeah, it's definitely
absolutely.
something to be aware of. It's a bit more, it's like a mindset,
Absolutely.
and learn how to
Absolutely.
use it so that, you don't do any damage. Yeah.
Yeah, you have awareness is your best friend, I'm sure, when you're like, I can't sing that high the whole song. I gotta go back and tweak things a little bit.
I'm gonna throw this one out to the audience.
That's it. Well, Annabelle, this has been a real treat. I love your stories and your enthusiasm.
Oh, thank you.
It's really a beautiful thing to see and to talk to you about. As we kind of just bring this to a close, what's coming down the pipe here in 2024? You have a single that came out, Shame. What else is on the docket for 2024?
Well, firstly, Chris, thank you so much for your kind words. This has been such a fun chat, and I'm so
Well,
grateful and so excited to be here. Very enthusiastic to be here. In terms of what's on the docket for 2024, definitely more music. Um,
Mhm.
Working toward a sophomore album, so we have a number of songs that are ready to
Nice.
go, and
Yeah.
definitely some more that are currently in the works. So I'm very, very excited about that, and some live
Nice.
performances in autumn of 2024 and beyond. So I'm so excited to
Cool.
get to perform these songs live and have that shared experience with people, because that's part of the
Mhm.
magic of music, is sharing it with others and getting to sort of celebrate it with others. And so that is something that I'm so eager about and very much looking forward to.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, I wish you all the best in 2024. I'll be following your journey from here on in, and I hope to catch you performing one day, maybe in the fall.
Oh, if it be your will. Thank you so much,
It's my
Chris.
will.
Thank you so much, Chris. You're awesome.
Great. Thanks a lot. It was a lot of fun.